strategically. I can get it right. I'm gonna go where the winners go. 'Cause Ellen ain't an option, no, it ain't in my blood.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mondays Beyond the Mic and happy MLK Day. I am your host, Dr. Elaine, and this is the place where we tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, so that men and women can learn and grow together. Thank you. I want to say thank you to our regular viewers and welcome to our new viewers. I ask that as you come in, if you could hit that thumbs button for me, it's that like button and it helps to move the show further into these YouTube streets. I hope everyone had a great day today and did something. A day of service is what MLK Day is about. So we have a disclaimer. What is our disclaimer? That this show is for entertainment and education purposes only, and we have house rules. We know rules are needed, and what are our rules? Respect, respect, respect. I like to state that if disrespect is displayed on the platform or in the chat, individuals will be removed, and we don't want that because why? We're here to learn and grow together. So tonight, normally I'll say I like to welcome my co-host, but she's running late. She'll be here. Lady Dawn B will be on the way. So tonight you have me, you have me, you have me. And I hope that's enough for right now. And we like to welcome people in the chat. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about tonight and what tonight is about as we start off this year of 2026. So we talked about health and wellness on last week because when we come out of an old year and into a new year, one of the things that we often say, we make these resolutions or we make these adjustments and say, I'm going to be better at this in the new year. So health and wellness, and we had an expert come in, but I also think that mental health is very, very important. And we're going to talk about that today. So before we welcome people into the chat, I'd like you to know that this episode is for those of us navigating midlife. I know I'm not the only one navigating midlife, juggling relationships, careers, family, grief, and personal change. Mental wellness after 40 or after 50, depending on where you are, looks different. And today we're going to have some honest conversation about what it takes to stay emotionally healthy in 2026. I want that to be a priority, that we are emotionally healthy. So we have joining us tonight, it will be Dr. Tracy Duncan, a licensed counselor, to help us unpack things like grief, self-care, and mental wellness. So one of the things that I want to think about even on tonight before we bring our guest is, even if you're in the chat, think about some things that you said need to be emotionally fit or healthy in what area. What are some of the areas that I need to be better? Is it an area of grief, right? Many of us, it looks very different around the holiday, coming into the new year, loved ones that did not sit at the table with us, being relationships. Maybe that's something you're examining and you're taking a look at your life and saying, how can this get better? So with that being said, we like to just say welcome people in. And I'd like to bring up our guest for tonight, Dr. Tracy Duncan. If I had some hand claps, I'd be like, whoo. She is definitely not a stranger. She has been with us before, and I'm glad to have you back. So welcome.
Oh, I feel special.
Because you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy new wellness and emotional wellness and spiritual wellness year. I like the theme that you have going on. Yes.
Thank you. Because I need to start out the year from our health, our emotion, our mental health, and then also our spiritual health. So that'll be next week. So next week when we talk about spiritual wellness, and I'm excited about my guest tonight, but I'm elated only because my guest next week is my mentor. So and as you know, Dr. D, Dr. Grant is
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes, I'm glad I'm here tonight and not following him after next week.
So we just want to say, let's say welcome to some of our guests. So we're going to say welcome, and then we're going to get into our conversation on tonight. So who do we have in the building with us? So Anae said, hey, at Bravo with Sheila Network. Hey, Anae. She said, hey, Dr. E. Hello, Anae. She said, hey, Dawn B. She's on her way, right? And she said, good evening, Gail Lockley. Hey, sis. She said, good evening, sis. Thank you for joining us. And she said, hey, Dr. Duncan.
Hello.
And then Anae said, hey, Dr. Tracy Duncan as well.
Hey, Anae.
And we like to always say, I can't say it like Lady Dawn B, but Anae is the greatest moderator in these YouTube streets, and she keeps order. We love it, and we thank you, and we appreciate you, Anae, for what you do. So, Dr. D, I call her Dr. D, so just get used to it. We're going to start with some questions. So, I want to talk about mental wellness. What emotional challenges are most common in midlife? Like what is it that you see? People come to you and they say, this is going on in my life. What do you say to them?
I think, well, what seems to be the presenting problem that I see is people coming and one realizing that they're in midlife. That alone, that recognition alone shakes things up a little bit, right? Because some people can ignore it. So just recognizing it is a lot. And then looking back over the years and trying to figure out if they're fulfilled. Like these things have worked. Like am thinking about career. Am I satisfied with my career choices, or did I want to do something else and I didn't do it, but now it's coming up? At this point in my life, I expected to have a family, and maybe they're not at that point. So they may experience some disappointments, and also some decisions that they may be wrestling with. In terms of, I've had a lot of students midlife that changed careers and making that adjustment because they realized, okay, this was something I always wanted to do, but I was practical in my pursuits. But now I'm at a place where I want to do what makes me happy.
Okay. Okay.
So I know that was a lot.
No, that was good. And I think like as you were talking, I was thinking like, was there something? And I think it was that look back part because, in our heads, especially I can speak, I'll speak for myself. You have this like fairy tale life, right? In your mind, like I'm going to get married, I'm going to have children, I'm going to live happily ever after. And when there's a disruption and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. That wasn't part of the story. And now, as you said, getting older and looking back over your life, but for me personally, learning to say no regrets, right. Lessons learned, right? And I think that part of it, and still know, it's not too old and it's not too late and you're not too old. Because I think that's a part of what may happen with us sometimes when we hit that midlife, because we're excited to get to a certain. I remember when I was turning 50, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to turn 50. And it was like, wait a minute.
I'm going to turn 50. Yeah.
So, okay. I like that. So I know you do family and couple counseling and things like that. I kind of want to shift to think, how can couples reconnect when life has become routine or stressful? Because when we're thinking about this stage, you have people who are in the sandwich, that sandwich generation. They're taking care of kids or maybe taking care of grandkids and trying to take care of their parents at the same time, or trying to shift careers, or feeling like they're being forced out of a career. So what would you say to that couple that's trying to reconnect?
Well, the first comes to mind is overall communication. and not assumptions. It just because it has worked for our relationship in the past, if we're entering a new phase, there should be an entering in a new phase together as a couple, which requires some communication. The worst thing that society has done with regards to couples is label midlife and put crisis afterwards. So then if there's something out of the ordinary occurring with one of the partners in the relationship, oh, they just chalk it up to, well, maybe this is a midlife crisis, rather than, well, maybe I just want to change things up. And so what I say to that is having, that sit down, some communication, some honest discussion, feedback, and also a sense of we're in this together. Like, it's not your midlife, but this is a transition that our family, that our relationship is going through. So approaching it together.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that's a part of, like, I've often said, I want to marry my best friend, because that means we can just chat about anything. And if we are truly best friends, then that communication happens. But I think a lot of times people enter into relationships like, he fine, she fine, and they stay together because it's like, well, I know this trouble. I don't know what kind of trouble I'm gonna get into if I leave. So
right. Or they use terms like, this is just a phase.
Right.
And that's passive, because it's not just a phase. This is a life point that, one, we should be grateful and rejoiceful about, because some people don't make it to the midlife phase, right? So when you do make it to the midlife phase as a couple, there it's not just a phase, but it's a point in our relationship that we're working together. And you mentioned something about routines, being able to recognize those routines. And if you can't explain why you're doing what you're doing, and the only explanation you give is because this is what I'm used to doing, then that's a point of discussion. That's a point of reflection, because can I do it differently? Especially if it's not fulfilling a need, but fulfilling time. Now, if it's just a time stamp, then to me, that's problematic, because a relationship should always be evolving, should always be interesting. Now, you will have some moments where it's not, there's some unsatisfying moments. But overall, it should be evolving, because we're evolving. We're seeking to be better each day. We're seeking to grow and to develop. And we're doing that as individuals. So in a relationship, it's twice as hard, because you're doing that with more than just you, but with your partner.
Wow, that's wisdom. Hey, ladies on B, welcome in. I love this. This is good.
Hey, family.
Hey.
Now, I just kind of want to say, like, I love this, but I want to ask this question. As adults, how do we renegotiate boundaries with family and friends? Like, and the reason why I say that is I'm the baby of my family. Lady Dawn is the baby, right? And sometimes people always see you as the baby. They don't see you as the adult that you are. And now you in midlife crisis. You are, you got menopause happening, but they still see you as baby girl or the little one. Now, how do you renegotiate space or boundaries with your family and even maybe your friends? Because maybe you were the youngest one out of your friend group. So what would you say or suggest as adult, as Lady Dawn B would say, at this big old age?
Yeah, well, the first thing, Dr. Elaine, is you're not negotiating. The only negotiation that takes place is between you and God and you. Okay. You don't negotiate boundaries with someone else because they can't tell you, okay, negotiate means a give and take, right? I'm negotiating, so I'm recommending this. And what's your feedback on recommending that? So we are not negotiating how we spend our time or how we want our family members to regard us. So that I'll say that first. A negotiation is, again, if there's a give or take, right? So, and then, once we have established the boundaries, to be okay with them as we're demonstrating them, then go ahead and execute them. And then give explanation as to why, because any behavior change is difficult for the person that's executing it and also on the receiving it. So you may have to modify based on if it's not working for you.
Okay.
And then that's saying that there's often a saying of being okay with saying no. I'll feel selfish if I take more time for myself. Those are inner thoughts. We call them in counseling, we call them automatic negative thinking, right? And in the way that we approach automatic negative thinking is to replace it with productive, healthy thinking. Right now, it's uncomfortable to say no, but it's something that I have to give myself time to experience along with those that are on the receiving end. But if your audience don't remember anything else we've said or I've said, you're not negotiating your boundaries with anyone. You put them out there, and either they hold on to them and respect them, or then if not, then there may be some other choices you have to make that you will then have to be comfortable with.
Wow. Lady Dawn, thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm kind of still stuck. I had to write that down. Dr. Tracy said fulfilling a need versus fulfilling time. I'm like, that was a pause, Selah moment for me. I'm like, oh, all right. We just choosing violence early. I said, okay, got it. But I think my thoughts are in all that has been said on this point. When you talk about negotiating terms or negotiation period, I think of hostage situations, and it made me think of something that I said to my mother a while ago about people holding you as an emotional hostage, holding you hostage to a specific particular space or time or place. And I find that can happen, and it does happen. Like you said, we forever gonna be baby girl, we forever gonna be, little Pookie, little Day Day, all of those things, even though we are grown and we are dealing with, all the vicissitudes of life like everybody else. But for me, as Dr. Tracy said, there is no negotiation. I will not be an emotional hostage or a hostage of time or how you remember me for anyone. It may be an endearing moment. For me, I choose when I encounter those moments not to respond to the way they know me, and I will force a person to have to deal with on this level or not at all, because I'm not going to be pulled back. I'm not going to be in a space where you are comfortable accepting me. If you're having a hard time struggling with the fact that I'm grown, matured, have become and developed or whatever. But I don't want to stay, because I don't want to stay in that space, and we are in this midlife space, and people will take it light or take short of this journey because they still see you as 16, and it's like, no, I'm having a 6-year-old issue now. You can't room cry off. I can't, acknowledge the journey that I'm having. And if you cannot do that, then I cannot embrace you in my space right now. And again, I won't respond to you until you start dealing with me on the adult level as to where I am.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. I just go silent with people. Okay, just for my own peace of mind.
Look, she was silent on us. She just hit the silent button. No, let's we have some people in the chat and I want to recognize them before we go into the next portion. She said drop the mic, hit the mute button.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry, y'all.
I think it was staged. No.
It was I can show you better than I can tell you moment.
I'm not negotiating. Mute. So we have Reginald.
I didn't mean it.
Reginald said, aloha to our host and the family on this much deserved MLK holiday. Hope all is well. Yes, thank you, Reginald, for joining us. And we are still looking forward to making it to Hawaii.
Get my grass skirt ready.
All right. Aloha. Reverend Janelle, hey, sis. She said, good evening, everyone. Good evening. And my big sister is in the building, Maple Spears. So, hey, big sis, thank you for joining us. All right, so let's get to this next section because I think many of us, if not all of us, have dealt with this area of grief, loss, and life transitions. Right? As they say, life be lifing. So, Lady Dawn.
All right. Well, Dr. Tracy, how do people grieve unmet expectations such as divorce or life not going as planned?
How do they, is it grieving unhealthy grief or healthy grief?
I guess you tell us, like, how would someone grieve unmet in a healthy way, unmet expectations like divorce or life not going the way you planned?
Okay. In an unhealthy manner is not recognizing that you are grieving and putting up a facade as if everything is okay when everything is not okay, and being okay with things not being okay, having moments of sadness and working through those feelings. A lot of times we don't want to feel, so we power through, we keep ourselves busy, right? Or we engaged in other behaviors that helps us to look over it and not deal with it. You know, we don't want to be alone, so we're always around people, although you may not be physically alone, but there is still some emotional aloneness, even with being around people all the time. So the unhealthy grief, again, is not recognizing that you are and not accepting that you are, trying to hide it, you know, not understanding, you know, as people of color, and we put this in for today especially, right? As people of color, we're wired through generations of hard work and generations of pushing through. So we are wired to push through and feel later. But when does that feel later ever come?
Right.
You know? So those are the unhealthiness, if you will, of grieving. And then also not allowing others to walk alongside you. You know, not having that support system. You don't need a lot of people, but you need someone or someone's that you can actually be honest with. You know, I was going to say transparent, but that word transparent, it has been so watered down. We use that word so much to tell people off. So let me not use that word, but we are not honest with how we're feeling, not within ourselves. We think we're fooling God, and He knows. So again, just being open to feel those feelings,
Okay.
because it's just like the analogy I give is, you know how you're and you have a beach ball and you're in a pool, right? Is let's say that beach ball is the grief and all the feelings and emotions and thoughts that come with the grief. And you're trying to push that beach ball down in the water. And you're making progress, but you may one slip up, or you can't hold it down for so long, and then it pops up with some extra strength, right? And that's what we do when we're grieving. So then it's going to come out. Now, how it comes out determines it's determined based on how we're dealing with it, but it's going to come out. And in order for us to want it to come out in a pleasant, most untoxic, less explosive, and I would also say less embarrassing way, to deal with it on one side, to deal with it so that it doesn't become that way. Because
Mm.
it's gonna come out. Now it can come out at
Sure.
home when you are alone and you roll with the feelings, or it could come out in a board meeting when someone says the wrong thing and you give it to them, not because of what happened in the board meeting, but because you're angry about a loss. Which one do you want? The
Yeah.
loss, you know?
I love that. I just want to say, Janelle said exactly what I was thinking, which was, wow, that was a great analogy about the beach ball, because it doesn't matter how much you try to push that thing down, it's going to pop right back up. And I think that is,
Oh,
like you said, that untapped, untouched emotions and feelings that we have that we're not ready to deal with. Okay, ding, 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 ding. Sound the alarm. We have a super chat from Bravo with Sheila Network. Says this is a much needed conversation. Thank. I believe this is helping someone. I think it's somebody's, because I think this is an area which we all have this, like I always say, we have a board meeting in our mind every day.
Mhm.
And every day someone stands up as the chairman in the board and like, I object, we're not doing this today. And so there's these full conversations happening in our head that we're trying to process and still quote unquote be normal, whatever that is. So,
Mhm.
or I can take it, or especially I say this, for women, a lot of that whatever,
Mhm.
we'll whatever you, whatever, 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 but whatever is really something. Here's for the gentleman. If you ever hear a woman tell you whatever,
don't
you
you
in
believe
trouble.
it?
But instead of saying whatever, to your earlier point, having that communication with someone to say, this bothers me when you do this. And I think
Mhm.
it kind of leans back into vulnerability,
Mhm.
because that means I have to be willing to take the risk to tell someone something that I think may make me look weak.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think in our society, that's something that we often like, no, I have to be strong, or we're told you're
Yeah.
strong, so don't believe the lie. I'm like, no, I don't want to be strong.
And there's great strength in being vulnerable, because
On.
if you're able to demonstrate vulnerability and be okay with that, you're learning more about yourself. And now you're tapping into your authentic self. It's nothing like a strong person that is resembled by your authentic self. So to me, vulnerability, and I try to help clients reframe that vulnerability, it's not a weakness, it's actually a strength.
I love it.
Right. Right.
Okay.
It takes great strength to speak your piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, I would ask this question.
Totally agree.
How can, I'm sorry. You were saying something, Lady Dawn?
No,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay. How can people process grief without judgment or rushing the healing process? Because I think, a lot of times we're like, okay, I got to get over this, whatever it is. I really think it's, in my mind, we like to rush the healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give it some time. There's that initial sadness and loss that you experience, and everything is still kind of, I would say, like cloudy, right? And it's interesting because when I'm working with clients and they're referred to me by someone because they've experienced the loss, and I'll ask, well, how long has it been? And it's like, well, it's just been a month. That's not a long time in terms of the need to be in counseling, because you don't really, those feelings are still raw.
Mhm.
It's still, there's still unbelief, there's still shock, there's still even some physical adjustments that need to be made, especially if the person was living with you.
Right.
And so you don't really, establish all of that and experience what grief is going to look like within the first couple of months. Now, I can't tell you, okay, it should be 3 months or it should be 4 months. That I can't tell, because it depends on the person, it depends on the type of relationship. But saying to someone, and I'm saying this as a counselor, saying to someone you need to get in counseling, and it's only been a couple of weeks, is ineffective, because there's not much to process yet,
Mm.
you
That's good.
know. And then so you have people feeling like you need to be at a certain place, and then yourself, right? And I think more so it's on us when we are grieving. We feel like we should be able to be at a certain place, that it shouldn't hurt as much. But it does. You can't argue with your feelings. You can't negotiate your feelings and say, well, it shouldn't be so. What are you gonna do? Stop it? If anything, that intensifies it. And then, we have all these models now, which sometimes the more knowledge we have, the more cruel we are. You know,
Mm.
these 5 stages of grief, and it could be 3 months and we've gone through all the stages. Really? No, no, we're not. You're not through all the stages. And sometimes you go through a previous stage more than once. Um, so that the grief process, it takes endurance. It takes endurance. It's particular to the person, it's particular to the relationship. um and even within families, siblings can experience loss in different ways. They don't all experience that grief the same way. um so I forget your question, but I think I hit something, right? Oh, rushing through. I can take a question and just take it and make meaning out of it for myself. So I think I answered your question.
I think she answered our question.
I think so. You did job well done, doctor. You did that.
I love it. What,
Oh
uh,
gosh.
Lady Dawn, you want to ask the next question?
Gosh.
Let's talk about that self-care for the sandwich
Sure.
generation.
Like we needed that reprieve, I guess.
Yes.
And,
All right. So, um, Dr. Tracy, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
no.
Oh, okay. So what does sustainable self-care actually look like in this season? We're talking about the self-care for the sandwich generation.
Mm-hmm. Self care. Well, one is multifaceted, right? There's the physical care, spiritual care, mental, emotional care, social care. So it's being able to one first assess and or recognize rather what are some areas that are imbalanced, right? Am I getting more spiritual care than I am physical care? Am I getting more? Am I exercising like nobody's business, right? But then my emotional care is kind of slacking. So understanding that there's that holistic part because we're a whole person, right? So understanding where there are gaps, and we recognize that in how we're feeling, in how we're behaving, and even our motivation. If I feel like I'm not motivated to work at my job the way I used to be. So what's going on in that area? What is that connected to? What is the root of that? If I'm in service and I'm feeling like I'm there just to be there, what's going on there? Where is that spiritual root of the problem coming from? So it's first of all, it's just paying. We don't pay attention to ourselves in the sense of taking time to understand when we are discomforted, when we are discouraged. Again, there's this idea of just pushing through. And so taking a step back and really recognizing what is going on and taking the time to do that. And some people say, I don't have time to do that. I need to keep moving on. Well, it's going to catch up with you, so you can do it now or let it be done to you later. So that's where, the self-care begins, and understanding what makes you happy, what made you happy maybe 10 years ago may not be what's making you happy now. And finding out where your happiness and your joy comes from.
If I can, I think something you said earlier, we're ever evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, what made us happy 10 years ago, now we're like, I don't want that. I could think of things, as they say back in the day, that I would have been elated about, where now I'm like, nah, that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
I want more in this area than
Mm-hmm.
that area. And I think that also goes with maturity. That also goes with understanding what's really important in life. Because when you're younger, you think everything fast is the thing. As you get older, you like slow and steady is the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency is slow and steady.
Mm-hmm.
And not the quick turnovers, and that's anything, because jobs, we were like, I quit next. You start thinking longevity. What does that look like? So I kind of want to shift and talk about mental health, the stigmas, and seeking support, because I think, especially in our communities, a lot of times, I mean, now it's becoming a little more common, but I would probably say more with like the millennials and younger are more like, yes, I'm in therapy. Like in our generation, it was like, if you said you in therapy, what's wrong with you? Why are you going? Ain't nothing wrong with you. You don't need X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to kind of lean in to say, what are some myths about mental health that are still common in this age group? I'm gonna call us the seasoned group. There yet, Dr. D, but us.
Well, not there yet. I'm coming there. I'm getting there, but not yet. Some of the stigmas attached. You alluded to this, Dr. Elaine, is what's wrong with her? Is she crazy? Another. I don't know if this is not necessarily a stigma, but there was a time where you didn't see people that looked like us in the counseling seat, right? I think I know that's evolving. We need more. but we're making some progress. So if anyone is using that really as an excuse, then you're probably not looking hard enough, right? And then also the for some, not all, but I would say the church body and their understanding of mental health, or lack their understanding of mental health, gets in the way.
You mean it ain't a demon?
It really is, and I'm sorry to tell you, you can't cast it out, right?
Say it again for the people in the front.
You can't cast it out, you know. And it's like with church involvement. Again, this is evolving, but there's still a large piece of feeling like if you are in counseling, then that equates to you not having faith in God. Like, seriously? I have faith in God that He will put resources in our path that we can tap into. If I have a physical condition, if I break my leg, I'm not going to sit there and pray that God will heal my leg only. The only, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to the doctor, right? And as the doctor is working on my leg, I'm praying that everything is okay. So you tell me if I have a mental health issue, I can't do the same because it's not visible and you don't understand what I'm experiencing. So there's this notion, okay, I don't understand it, so you must be crazy or it must be demonic. But in my counseling session, I could be praying, and guess what? This is a big thing. How about in the counseling session, you may have a counselor who's praying for you and with you. So I believe that, you know, in our community, we have utilized the church for all things, and there's a place for it. I'm not saying that I don't want pastors calling me, telling me, you know, I'm not saying the right things. There is a place, but the scripture also says in 2 Thessalonians 5 that God is concerned with our body, mind, and soul. And in that formula, there's emotions and feelings that He wants us to be whole, that He creates, because He's the creator of all things, He is the creator of support. Now, if you're only relying on counseling, okay, and not putting your trust and faith in God to also heal or deliver you or even manage it, then that's a whole nother discussion that Dr. Grant will take care of next week, right? But so that, I think the church has really, and I'm not bad mouthing the church at all. I'm a church girl. I've been going to church all my life. I have different roles in church, but I'm also a counselor, and I'm not a Christian counselor. I'm a counselor and a Christian because I want to make room for God to use me so that somebody said preach. I knew I was starting to preach. I felt.
Listen, that's okay. Now that's Pastor Janelle. So when you got a pastor agreeing with you there. So I love this. I love this. And look, you got to bring it to your church and let her talk about the counseling piece, because she's also, meaning Dr. Tracy is also a minister as well.
Yes. So that, you know, I guess you could tell that really irks me some and has caused our community to be at a disadvantage, you know.
And I think that is so true, because I can remember growing up in church, and
you're not alone.
They would say things like, you know, all you need is Jesus and that's enough. And I understand, but then you're saying, but then why are these people here? And to your point, if I break my leg, you're going to tell me to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I love that. And you're just great with these analogies, Dr. D. I tell you, from the beach ball to the doctor. And I think that is so needed, because, and especially in our age group, there are people, well, I'm going to say even in I'm going to say 45 and up, right? In that age group, there is, or maybe that stigma around counseling, that stigma around, if I go, does it mean I don't believe in God? Um, opposed to saying, I believe in God, I'm going to therapy, and I'm going to mix the two. Because now I have some practical tools I can use and pray to God about X, Y, and Z. And now I'm also being transparent with myself and with my feelings and saying, this is what's going on. Because I think I go back to your first analogy. If I'm just going to the altar, you putting, you spilled all the oil on me. We've done all the things that we can do. Is all that person is going to do is that beach ball analogy. They're just going to suppress it, and it's going to keep popping up, and then you're going to say, here comes that demon again, opposed to, no, we need to figure out, as the old folks would say, we need to get to the root of the problem. Let's figure out what's really going on and see, is that, and I'm just making this up, is that, maybe it's schizophrenia, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it has a name. And then once now we know what to pray for, and we won't pray amiss along, because now we know we can name it.
Yeah. And even the Dr. Elaine, even the naming it, with the diagnosis, those is typically, we have abused those, the diagnosis a lot. And so even with a diagnosis, that's also more so the way that we can have common language among counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists. But we want to get to the root of the symptoms, maybe related to, so we have a starting point,
right?
Because if you go to they don't have many Barnes and Nobles now. If you go to Amazon, right, and you type in DSM-5, you can just get it. Anyone can get it. You don't need to show credentials, right? Anyone can get it, and then they're looking at this DSM-5 and saying this is what the person suffers from, with no credential, no experience of diagnosing. It just looked like what it is.
It's like WebMD.
Yeah. The more you know, the more harmful it can be, right?
Wow. Yeah. All right. Lady Dawn, any thoughts on what you've heard thus far, even in the chat? I mean, I know Pastor Janelle says, after she said, preach, Dr. Tracy, she also said, I've referred many members to counseling.
Right.
So I think that's a wonderful thing, because
Thank you, Reverend Janelle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lady, it's funny because, last night I was actually on a panel, and I said, I like Dr. Tracy, am irritated by the amount of neglect that the church, some, again, not all, so I'm just going to be me for 2 seconds, has when it comes to this space of labeling things, of praying over everything. And again, I am elder in my own church, been in ministry since I was about 23 years old. So when I say this, it becomes shocking, because then people are like feeling like I'm talking against what I believe. I'm like, no, if you read your word, there's a place for all these things. There's a place for counseling. Pastors think they're supposed to have it all. No, some pastors teach the word, preach the word, raise the sheep, protect the flock. You may not be a licensed counselor of mental health, and that's not an area that you are versed in. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't belong in the building. It doesn't mean that you should not refer people out, because it's not offending the faith. It's actually helping to build someone's faith, because in the Old Testament, it would refer to, and scripture says, what happened? They would tell them when things were going on, tell them, call for the elders. Call for the elders. And the elders did what? They counseled them on whatever natural situation was going on. So when we, the body, start neglecting that point or making it look like counseling and therapy are not a part of the solution, but it's an offense to God, then we are in error. I often refer to when Jesus fed the multitude. What did he do? They came together, they were hungry. He dealt with their natural first before he got to this spiritual. And that's why we do miss so much. That's why so many things do go misdiagnosed. That's why we are praying over things that, in a sense, don't need prayer for. Somebody just might need to sit at a different table and have a different conversation about the emotion. God is here for the soul, not for the flesh. Let humanity deal with the flesh things, let God deal with the spirit things. And we have to be balanced. We have to be balanced. On the ministry network, I have a segment coming up called Jesus, Coffee, and Therapy. Sometimes that's what we need is Jesus, some coffee, and some therapy. And I came to that realization when I was stressed out and overwhelmed and saying, what in the world? And I'm praying, but I'm not feeling no better. And God was like, you just go get some coffee and talk to somebody.
I'm just going to interject because I know Pastor Janelle and her coffee. I knew she was coming. She said yes.
But it's why? Who said that we had to pick and choose? If it's building us up in the way that we need to be built, as Dr. Tracy said before, if it's fulfilling a need, not just fulfilling time, but if this is what I need to fulfill the need, whatever is happening in my life, why do I have to separate my spirituality from my mental health? Why can't I have Jesus, therapy, and coffee? Why can't we?
Yeah.
And then we can come together and deal with, like you said, Dr. E, then we know what to pray for. And we just have to, I believe in balance, and I'm getting off my soapbox now because that is a thorn in my flesh, like for real. That's why I'm like, I'm called to I sit in the back, but I'm called to the people in the front because we've been talking to people in the back so long, the people in the front been missing it. So we got to do something for the people in the front.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. This has been
right on. I mean, like, yes. Yeah.
So if there was, Dr. Tracy, if there was something you wanted to leave our audience with, if there was some words of wisdom, some tools that people could use, even if, I don't know if you're taking new clients, you can throw that in there as well. But what would be some tools you would give our audience dealing with or on the journey to mental wellness?
Yeah. My takeaway is you deserve to be whole.
I love that.
You deserve to be whole. And God provides resources such as myself and other counselors to facilitate that, not to heal it. I'm not a healer. I know the one who is, and we can pray. And even if you don't want to pray, guess what? I'm praying for you anyway. And that's what a counselor who is a Christian does. I don't have to open my Bible in my counseling session. I am the Bible, in the sense that what greater is He that is in me than it is in the world, that I should reflect Christ-like behaviors in how I care for others. So the takeaway, if you will, is you deserve to be whole. It doesn't matter what your past has looked like. Some people feel like they do not deserve it. Some people feel like they're not worthy of it. We all deserve to be whole. We all deserve it. So if that means coffee and therapy, then so be it, because you're deserving of it. We all are deserving of it.
I love that. I mean, I think that is where a lot of us have to pause and park to say, I deserve this. And I think a lot of times people don't think that they deserve it based on, I did this or whatever, but learning to forgive you. If what I'm hearing is you have to forgive yourself and say, no, despite what I've done, despite what has happened in the past, to your point, I deserve my mental wellness. I deserve my joy. I deserve my peace. And maybe that becomes a part of an affirmation for
Mhm.
someone listening
Oh
today
yeah.
to say, yeah, you wake up tomorrow, I deserve this. You
Mhm.
know, I deserve my coffee and therapy. I deserve peace of mind and my coffee or tea, whatever your preference is.
Mhm.
Um, I think that I deserve. You have to really and not be ashamed of to say what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speak what you want. I mean, I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm making some new declarations starting tomorrow.
I deserve.
Well, I might start today when I get off this podcast. But yeah, because there are some things I just deserve.
Yeah, like you deserve when you're tired and ready to go to bed, you deserve to go to bed and not bring work home with you. You deserve that. That's a boundary. You deserve that boundary.
Right. I'm even like, you deserve when you walk out that door, whatever just happened when you leave work.
Yeah, you pick
I
it back
left it
up
in that
tomorrow.
building and we'll handle tomorrow.
Yeah, you deserve it.
I love it. I love it. So let me just say this midlife, and Dr. Duncan, you said this midlife is not a crisis. It's an invitation to heal, to reset, to live more intentional. Again, thank you, Dr. Duncan, for being our guest. And thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us in this important conversation regarding mental wellness during midlife. I ask that you join us next week as my mentor will be our special guest to discuss spiritual wellness. I say, on the note of Dr. Duncan said, you deserve to have a great week. You deserve to have a great night. We deserve to have an awesome 2026 and beyond. So thank you for joining us
Thank you.
and good night, everyone.
Good night.
All I do is try to construe this life.